Here we go. One more time, just for you. So, much of a muchness, all too much of a muchness, or just something that you should take cognizance of and go, yeah, all right, I hear you, and carry on. Good afternoon. Sexual harassment in the workplace. Grant.
Prevalent studies have shown that we're looking at an average of 33.
Can we swing the other mic around rather? I'm just not hearing you at all. There, that will be better. Sorry, get rid of that one. And there you go. All right. Much better. Yes.
So yes, prevalence is there. Studies have shown that up to 33% of people in the workplace are actually victims of sexual harassment, be it male or female. The prevalence on the female side is a little bit higher. But
how sensitive a matter is it? Is it something that you should? Well, I'm not going to talk to anybody. I'm just going to go hello, hello, and not greet. Well, just greet and then stay away.
Remember, it's a very, very subjective subject. So for one person where you'd walk in and touch them on the back, that's okay. The next person, it could be considered because it's any unwanted either. And I'm going to jump back to the definition over here. It's unwanted conduct of a sexual nature. So
just going up to a lady and saying, "Hey, how are you?" and going tap like that in the middle of her back or on her shoulder blade or something like that. That could be considered.
Yes, it could be. Now remember, you're delving into the situation. That's now a once-off. But if she turned around just after that and said, "Listen, that made me feel uncomfortable.
Okay,
I don't want you to think," then you know.
Then you know.
Now, the biggest issue over here, people are worried about stepping to the plate and saying, listen, I'm not happy about this situation, because they're worried about the reprisal that will come at a later stage. They're worried about going to management and saying, this person makes me feel uncomfortable, this is what's happening. For me, and looking at the law, what you in an ideal world, you would want any unwanted contact, any unwanted sexual advance, that kind of thing, to be reported immediately. But it does not happen. And again, there was a case that was dealt with, SA Metal Group, Pty Limited, and the Commission for Conciliation, Mediation and Arbitration case. And they found that you can't hold somebody liable for not reporting it immediately because they are worried about the reprisal. They're worried about the sanctions that could take place, specifically where you're dealing with the perpetrator being in a management position or higher.
Okay.
So again, there's certain things that you have to look at pertaining to sexual harassment. And yes, you've got to be very careful about what you say, how you say it.
How you say it.
That's again the situation, because one person could construe it as, oh, they're making a joke. The next person could be completely offended by the same.
What happens if you're in that company and you take offense to what was said, but that conversation had nothing to do with you?
Again, now if it is reported, now you're delving into a situation where that conversation was not directed to this person.
However, that person took offense about what you said.
Yes,
could be was a joke about a blonde. You know, you get a million of blonde jokes, and she was standing up, and then she was not even blonde because, well, I didn't like that.
Now remember, sexual harassment can be construed, but specifically with regard to dirty sexual jokes. It is a form of sexual harassment, and it does fall under the verbal cues, because we have multiple cues that are listed in a study that was done, and the study is specifically called The Prevalence and Nature of Sexual Harassment in the Workplace, and a model for early identification and effective management thereof. And in this study, they specifically refer to verbal, visual, written, touching, power, threats, and force. So even if there's no physicality, no visual cues pertaining to that, and you using your position to elicit certain sexual favors or anything like that, it's sexual harassment.
In the working environment, I don't know what it's like overseas, but I can honestly sort of vouch for where I work at the moment. This is sort of like a family. You've come quite a way with people. You know, it's not And when there's someone new, well, you give them their space and they'll come round eventually, and so it carries on. But, oh boy, in an office environment, I would not know what that's like. I would, if I had to suddenly change jobs and I was now working in an office environment, I would not even speak to people. I'd just go, hello, good morning, and that would be the end of it. Because whatever you say could be your hello, good morning could be, well, I didn't like the way you said that. No, I hear what you said in the beginning, but you can get very sensitive about these things.
Again, it's very, very subjective. It's all about that person's interpretation of the conduct.
Right.
And when looking again at the definition, it's any unwanted conduct of a sexual nature.
Right.
So you as a business could have a jokes notice board, and you could put up this joke with a picture on it, or send it via WhatsApp to the group. And somebody takes offense.
Oh.
Now you're essentially guilty of sexual harassment.
But those jokes, and there are plenty of them that get on the WhatsApp, even with the staff here at the radio station, they'll send one out and everyone, ha, 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 ha. One should be, in other words, careful.
You've got to be extremely careful. It could be taken up the wrong way, and don't take that up the wrong way.
No, don't take it up the wrong way either. Yeah.
And that's how fast and how simple it could be. Sexual harassment could take place. Somebody could feel offended by what is said, what happened. And on
Facebook, to your friends, your immediate friends, on a media source like Facebook, like WhatsApp.
Remember, there we're not dealing with a workplace environment.
But you could be You could be in a workplace environment when that is set.
You could be, but again, if it's your private page,
then it's okay.
Then it would be.
Then it's okay.
I wouldn't say it's okay because you're still putting out media on your private page that could have. Negative connotations.
Exactly.
And it could land you in hot water. We've seen it in multiple occasions.
People have lost their jobs because
People have lost their jobs. Other people have been criminally charged. Remember, sexual harassment also has an element of criminality to it.
And if you're on radio now and you tell a dirty joke and someone takes exception to it?
Again, you could find yourself in hot water. So again, it's one of those things. Rather be on the safe side than sorry. But again,
subjective.
I feel you shouldn't tiptoe around the subject. This subject should be out there.
Yeah.
There should be means and ways to deal with this type of conduct should somebody be offended in the workplace. And I find, from a South African point of view, and from as South Africans, we tend to shy away from this. And we're not getting down to the root core. Do we have a sexual harassment policy in place? Is it established? Do the role players know what to do should there be a complaint?
When was the last time you had a court case like that? Or you know of that there was in South Africa?
In the Labour Court, there's usually quite a couple. CCMA, a lot of the times, these matters run to CCMA.
Oh, so they don't really make the big time, as it were.
Again, it depends. Like if you get one of these stories that break where a CEO of a multinational has sexually assaulted their secretary or for whatever reason, or anybody else, then it usually makes the papers, that kind of thing. But a lot of the time, these things are very, very hush-hush. A lot of the time, parties would part ways with some sort of settlement, and it would never ever go to court because the people want to keep it out of the media. They want to keep it out of the limelight. But I find specifically...
Here in South Africa or overseas as well?
Overseas as well.
Oh, okay. So this is a bit of a, as you would say...
Yeah, they tend to sweep it under the carpet. It's one of those... It's a touchy issue because you're never really going to get away from it because it's so subjective. It's always going to be prevalent because people will be people. They'll be discussing things, or people will take chances. But they must be aware of it.
So in an entertaining environment where you're out for the night, you're at a function, you're at the bar, you're ordering drinks, you tell a disgusting joke, and someone takes exception to it. But that's out of the workplace.
Now, again, is it a work function? And if it is a work function, then it could be considered...
So comedians can carry on being comedians?
comedians can carry on being comedians
Ah,
again. But
okay,
what
what
we're
then?
doing is we're subjecting ourselves by buying those tickets to go and.
So we're saying it's okay.
It's okay. We're tacitly accepting.
that we are. That
Thing.
some,
If
there's going to be jokes that are like, oh, I can't believe you told that one.
If they lewd and you're not happy, then
You get up and you walk out.
Step out and walk away. But again, it all hinges on that one word in the definition being unwanted.
Unwanted. All right.
And specifically with regard to sexual harassment, it's usually a pattern. So
Okay.
with harassment, it becomes a pattern.
It's the same person the whole
So
time.
the same person the whole time. You'd be sitting in a situation, staring or ogling could be considered sexual harassment.
Or what about one of those come hither two looks? You know, like look you up and down here.
Yeah, again, that's now on the visual cues.
Okay.
And if it's unwanted and you've made that person aware
Yeah.
that this type of action is unwanted and they continue, then again,
And a person,
Take
a
it
member of
further.
the same sex, that kind of sexual harassment.
it doesn't matter what sex you are.
Okay, all right.
Harassment can be
harassment
coming
is harassment.
from both sides, from members of the same sex. So harassment is harassment.
Doesn't matter.
You've just got to be very, very careful about what you say, what you put out there. Written cues are on this specific list in this study. They talk about obscene poems, obscene letters, love letters or love poems that are sent. And these could be anonymous. It's still considered harassment. I'm feeling harassed. Let's say I got one every day for the last 3 months. And I
Yeah.
don't know who it's coming from. Now, I report it. What is management going to do? Do they have their policies and procedures in place to deal with that type of harassment?
Doesn't it have a general code of conduct for a company, and in there is information on sexual harassment, isn't it?
There should be in
Yeah.
every company's
If there
code
is
of conduct.
not?
If there is not, the public can go out and actually look at the Commission for Conciliation, Mediation and Arbitration, being the CCMA, have provided a brief summary of what sexual harassment is. They've got a small code and the policy statements and that kind of thing, and that's freely available on their site.
All right. Well, thank you very much, sir.
No, thank you.
I am now going to be very boring on air from now on, and I'm just going to, well, that was this and this is that, because you can't go and be controversial. Controversial, but this is sexual harassment in the workplace. It's got nothing to do with what's going on a radio station. Or it's basically office, and that's it. That's it.
Remember, it's in the workplace environment. If you are working in an office and you're contracted as an employee and you're being harassed, you must go to the right people, report it, so you can deal with it.
All right. Okay. Thank you, sir, for coming through. And once again, if you want to get hold of Grant or De Beer and Claassen attorneys, all you have to do is...
You can contact me on 083 981 4706
Bless me. Sorry about that. Yes, yeah.
or at De Beer and Claassen on 016 976 0800.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming through.
Thanks.